70 years ago today, American country star Johnny Cash released the single Folsom Prison Blues. The song combines elements from two popular folk styles that Cash used often in his songwriting and has ranked 51 on Rolling Stone magazine's 100 Greatest Country Songs. Cash was serving in the military in Germany when he came up with the iconic line, "I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die," and admitted later he was trying to come up with the single most repugnant reason for murder he could think of. Read more about the famous song 1970 Johnny Cash and Son Records Folsom Prison Blues single fair use entering a Tennessee studio in July to record the song. Cash had no drummer in the studio, but replicated the snare drum sound by inserting a piece of paper like a dollar bill under the guitar strings and strumming the snare rhythm on his guitar. Cash opened almost all of his concerts with Folsom Prison Blues after greeting the audience with his trademark introduction, "Hello, I'm Johnny Cash," for decades. Cash performed the song at Folsom State Prison on January 13, 1968, which was recorded and later released as a live album titled At Folsom Prison. Released as a single, the live version reached #1 on the country singles chart and #3 on the Hot 100 in 1968. More good news on the States. Spain opened its border gates to the people of Gibraltar after 13 years of isolation for humanitarian reasons. 1908, Romanians began their popular uprising that led to the downfall of dictator Nicolae Ceausescu. 1989, with hopes at ending a quarter century of bombing, Britain and Ireland signed a joint declaration of peace inviting the Irish Republican Army to peace negotiations if they would first observe a 3-month ceasefire. 1904, Netscape Navigator's web browser was released. 1904, the Leaning Tower of Pisa reopened after 11 years following a $200 million investment to fortify the structure while preserving its famous lean. 20 millions of Iraqis turned out to choose a parliament in a mostly peaceful election. 25th, the United States ended its 9-year war in Iraq, pulling out some of its military troops and suspending combat operations. 25th and 11, 12 years ago today, China became the third nation to land a rover on the moon with their Change 3 orbiter and rover. The soft landing it achieved was the first on the moon since the Soviets in 1966, landing in a molten crater called Sinus Ilium. It was to carry out some surveying and geology, during which it discovered a new kind of basaltic rocks. Change 3 lunar lander CNSA fair use. The rover was named due to Chinese Litz Jade Rabbit following an online poll, after the mythological rabbit that lives on the moon as a pet of the moon goddess. This mythological tone continued at the landing site of Change 3, which was named Guanghan Gongguang, widely, extensively, Han, cold freezing, Gong, Palace or Moon Palace by the International Astronomical Union (IAU). 3 nearby impact craters were given the names Saiwai Chanshi and Taiwai, 3 constellations in traditional Chinese astrology. 2013 to 35 or years ago today, the United States Bill of Rights became law after the state of Virginia ratified the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. Crafted to address the issue of states' rights, these amendments also guaranteed personal freedoms and rights and established clear limitations on the government's power. One of the most renowned amendments says this: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. George Mason, a Virginia delegate, refused to sign the U.S. Constitution due to oversights that were finally addressed in this document. He influenced substantial portions of the text, which is why he is known as the father of the Bill of Rights. Do you know what these 10 rights are? Watch an animated short video, one of concern in the line for there. Years ago today, the Soviet spacecraft Venera 7 landed on the surface of Venus, becoming the first spacecraft to soft land on another planet. The 1,100-pound unmanned probe was also the first to transmit data from another planet back to Earth. Photo credit right by Stanislav Kozlowski. CC license on the lander. There were temperature and pressure sensors, as well as an accelerometer to measure atmospheric density. The probe, which traveled for 120 days after launch, also carried a radar altimeter. Information was transmitted back to Earth for 30 minutes, which included about 20 minutes from the surface, and found that the temperature was 410 to C808 in F-degrees. The probe proved Venus to be uninhabitable, but confirmed its solid surface contained low levels of dust, which could never be seen through a thick veil of atmosphere. 19 also, 86 years ago today, Gone with the Wind, one of the greatest films of its day, premiered. Set in the American South against the backdrop of the American Civil War. The film tells the story of Scarlett O'Hara, played by Vivian Leigh, the strong-willed woman on a Georgia plantation, Tara, and her romantic pursuits, particularly of Rhett Butler Clark Gable. The casting director's search for Scarlett led to some 400 women being interviewed for the part, with British actress Leigh eventually winning the role and the Oscar for Best Actress. The film scored historic wins for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actress. Hattie McDaniel, who was the first African-American to win an Academy Award, setting the record for total number of nominations and wins 10 for any film until that time, while triumphing over Wizard of Oz. Immensely popular, Gone with the Wind became the highest-earning film made up to that point and held the record for over a quarter of a century. When adjusted for monetary inflation, it is